All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and happy Thursday to all you magnificent melon heads out there. Today's February 22nd, 2024. And holy smokes, NVIDIA earnings. Get ready for some nonsense today. NVIDIA is on pace to have the single best day in stock market history for any company ever on the back of those earnings yesterday. That record was previously set by Meta. They're on pace to smash it, and I mean by a huge margin today. So what's going on? Well, maybe you've heard by now, maybe not. NVIDIA posted earnings yesterday. They posted revenue of $22.1 billion. That is up 265% in a year. All right, they have more than tripled their revenue in 1 year. Market was expecting just over $20 billion, so that is a beat by a pretty good margin by about $1.5 billion of some expectations that were already very, very lofty. That's the thing, guys. The market was expecting 240% growth. They posted 265% growth. We're not going to rehash all of my theories on where that growth is coming from. That is all very well documented and known. We are just going to report the actual numbers right here. Also important yesterday was their guidance. They guided for $24 billion in revenue in this current quarter that they would report in a few months from now. So that guidance, initially that was being reported as disappointing guidance, but then it turned out and they just flipped the script and decided, no, that guidance was excellent. The stock rallied like the blazes. Now, within NVIDIA's numbers, the all-important data center category, that's where they track the revenue for their H100 GPUs. That's their flagship product that's used for artificial intelligence. All these ChatGPT and avocados from Mexico and stupid minion images, all these AI products that we heard so much about during the Super Bowl that probably aren't going to make any companies any money. They all rely on these massive server farms full of these H100 GPUs. Well, that data center category was $18.4 billion. That's up 400% year over year, 409 to be specific. So they are still selling a ton of these GPUs. Now they're on pace to add $250 billion, a quarter of a trillion in market cap just today. The previous record for a single day stock gain was something like 170 billion set by Meta just a few months ago. Now NVIDIA looks like they're set to break that record. That is, unless the big money is just going to fade this rally and sell it to all the people who are FOMO buying right now, like we saw after they posted their results in August of last year. That was a similar, oh my God, what wonderful earnings reaction from the market. Not wasting any time, Supermicro Computer announced just a few minutes after NVIDIA posted their earnings and everybody started buying their stock that they were offering $1.5 billion of convertible notes. In other words, SMCI is diluting their shareholders, not by a huge amount, but they are diluting them. And, well, people don't care. They're still buying SMCI stock this morning. Why? Probably because most of the people who are buying this crap don't even know what that means. Congratulations, you guys are providing exit liquidity. Also, a big story going on this morning. It started at about 3:30 a.m. yesterday, 3:30 a.m. this morning while I was still sleeping. Cellular networks around the country started going down. Let me just add, my cell phone is still working, so take that with a grain of salt. We discussed this on my morning call with my moderator, Mish. Thank you, Mish, for this story. But Down Detector is reporting massive outages at AT&T, Verizon, Cricket Wireless, pretty much all the major cell carriers, all at the same time, started reporting a spike in outages. Now, it looks like the worst of that may be behind us because those reports are starting to come down a little bit, even though people are waking up across the country. So you'd expect those reports to be increasing if the issue was still going on. So this may be something that is already a done deal and it's not going to get worse, or maybe not. But there is surprisingly very little coverage of this in the mainstream press right now, considering how big a story it is. Tens of thousands of network outages being reported all over the country. People unable to dial 911 in San Francisco last night. Kind of a big deal. We'll talk about that one. Electric vehicle maker Rivian has announced that they are laying off 10% of their salaried workforce. and that their electric vehicle production for 2024 is expected to be flat year over year. No increase in EV production for Rivian. They're going to make, they made 57,000 vehicles last year, even though expectations were expecting 65. Analysts wanted 65,000 vehicles. I've heard estimates as high as 80,000 vehicles. Disappointing there. Rivian stock getting crushed this morning ahead of the opening bell. We've also got Deutsche Bank is saying, you guys need to come back into the office. Why? Because you got to save our commercial real estate investment. Schneider Energy posting disappointing revenue because the price of natural gas is going down. So much going on this morning. So little time to cover it. Guys, why don't we shrink my big melon of a head and let's get into this story. While we're talking about this, though, don't forget that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell right next to it and have your coffee with the melon heads every morning. Right now, we've got the S&P 500 ahead of the opening bell is up 69 points, 1.4% higher, back above 5,000, all on the heels of that NVIDIA report. We've got the Dow is currently up 252 points ahead of the opening bell. That is 0.65% higher, again, driven largely by those NVIDIA earnings, triggering algorithms and machines to buy across the market. And the NASDAQ leading the way with a monster run, 357 points, 2% higher ahead of the opening bell. Stocks are up pretty much across the board this morning. The U.S. dollar, meanwhile, is a little bit weaker, at trading right here at 104 even, down 1 basis points. Looks like it came down in the middle of the night, and then it's been creeping back up, now essentially unchanged. Interest rates, however, we've got higher rates pretty much across the board with the exception of the 30-year Treasury. The 30-year is yielding 4.476%. That's down 2 basis points. Now, we don't usually talk about the 20-year Treasury on this channel. I typically skip over that one. But it's important to note that yesterday, the 20-year Treasury auction that the Treasury held, the tail on that auction was over 3 basis points. Now, the tail is the highest interest rate that they had to offer, i.e. the lowest price bid for these bonds. And the difference between that and what the bond was supposed to be going for, what the government was hoping to get. That lowest number, the difference between the two, is known as the tail. And yesterday, the 20-year Treasury auction reported the largest tail in the history of 20-year Treasury auctions. And this is interesting because it wasn't that big of an auction. I think it was like $16.5 billion that they were auctioning off yesterday. There just wasn't any demand for these things. Now, the market right now is more liquid than it's been in recent months. Market conditions are actually pretty loose for treasuries. Interest rates had been falling at the end of last year. They've started creeping up since the beginning of 2024, but they're still lower than they were last year. That was pretty interesting to see that happen yesterday. Such a large tail on that 20-year auction. It didn't get a lot of attention. It wasn't a very big auction, but it was a very big tail. And Al, my cat, is attacking my feet under my desk while we talk. That was painful. Moving on, the 10-year Treasury is yielding 4.329. That is up about half of 1 basis point. The 2-year Treasury is at 4.709, up 5.5 basis points. So we got a big move in the middle of the yield curve. And the 1 month is yielding 5.403, up about 1 percentage point. That 1 month has crept up 3 basis points in the last week or two here, guys. We're all still talking about Fed cuts as soon as March, right? Or, oh, that's right, we're not doing that anymore, even though the market keeps going higher. And, well, the market kept going higher because everybody was saying the Fed is going to cut. Well, now the Fed's not going to cut, and the market's still going higher. Guys, pay attention to the bond market. It's telling you things are not at all-time highs. Things shouldn't be at all-time highs. Things aren't great. Largest tail in 20-year auction history, 1 month rising, even though everybody's talking about rate cuts. Something's up in the bond market, and stocks just keep making new highs. Commodities, meanwhile, we have got gold is at $2,034 for April gold futures. That's up 20 cents this morning. March silver futures at $22.90, up about 3 cents. Platinum is up 1.4%. Palladium is down about 0.25%. And oil is down a little bit this morning, 77.31 for April WTI futures. That's down about 60 cents or 0.77%. But here is the big story everybody is talking about. Jensen Huang and his stupid motorcycle jacket. NVIDIA shares pop 14% in pre-market trade after AI-fueled bumper earnings. NVIDIA shares jumped 14% in pre-market trading on Thursday after the chip giant posted bumper earnings that beat Wall Street estimates, driven by excitement over artificial intelligence. The U.S. tech giant posted revenue of $22.1 billion for its fiscal fourth quarter. That's a rise of 265% year over year, while net income surged 769% as the company continues to see a boost from excitement over AI. If this growth keeps up within 2 or 3 quarters, this company is going to be reporting hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue. This growth can't keep up. These numbers have gotten so big where sooner or later, in a few more quarters, NVIDIA will be announcing more revenue than all the money in the whole freaking planet. At some point, this growth is going to stop. But for now, it's still going. So congratulations, NVIDIA bros. Enjoy this one. Definitely don't take any profits, whatever you guys do. Note sarcasm. Definitely don't take profits. NVIDIA chips are used to train huge AI models, such as those developed by Microsoft and Meta. NVIDIA sees no signs of slowing. The company forecasts its revenue in the current quarter will hit $24 billion, way ahead of estimates. Fundamentally, the conditions are excellent for continued growth in 2025 and beyond, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang told analysts on Wednesday, adding to the bullish sentiment around the stock. NVIDIA's data center business, which includes the company's H100 GPUs that are used for AI training, posted sales of $18.4 billion in the fourth quarter, representing 409% year-over-year growth. Let's talk a little bit about this because this is the same quarterly report as we got this headline. Now, this is last night around 6 p.m. It was shortly after NVIDIA had reported their earnings. I took this screenshot from Google, all right? NVIDIA forecast fails to impress investors after dizzying rally. All right, just want to add, if you Google NVIDIA forecast fails to impress, you'll get this headline. Now, they're talking about NVIDIA gave a sales forecast that fell short of the most bullish estimates, disappointing some investors following a historic rally that turned into one of the world's most valuable companies, all right? This is immediately following the report. The stock started to sell off. Bloomberg runs the headline that the forecast fails to impress and it fell short of the most bullish estimates. Now, if you Google this, NVIDIA fails to impress, and you click on it, you're going to get this link, NVIDIA set for biggest gain in 9 months as AI drives sales, with the byline, the company's results and forecast trounce Wall Street estimates. You click on a link that says the forecast fails to impress, and you get a link that says forecast trounce estimates. Reading on, you get this. The chip maker delivered another eye-popping sales forecast, adding to fresh momentum. Guys, this is the link that when you Google it, it says fails to impress. And the reason I mention this is just goes to show you how the same story, the same quarterly report, the narrative from the mainstream press flips 180 degrees instantly just because the algos that are buying this stock decided to flip and start buying it. All of a sudden, Bloomberg completely changes the title of the same story about the same report. Fails to impress, trounce estimates, eye-popping forecast. Amazing. The same story, the same quarterly report, changes in a couple of minutes. But meanwhile, here we are today, NVIDIA to top Meta record with nearly $250 billion value jump. NVIDIA is on track to best Meta's historic stock market session just 3 weeks after the Facebook owner set the record. Tell me it's a bubble without telling me it's a bubble. Shares in the chipmaker surged as much as 15% pre-market trading on Thursday, putting it on course to add almost $250 billion to its market cap. That would be the biggest single session increase in market value history, eclipsing the $197 billion gain made by Meta just at the start of this month. Now, guys, I want to put this in perspective. If NVIDIA does, in fact, add $250 billion of market cap today, that would be NVIDIA adding a Netflix to their market cap. Netflix has about a $248 billion market cap. So the one-day gain on NVIDIA stock, if this follows through, would be like just pile a Netflix right on top of the already bloated valuation that NVIDIA had yesterday. That would also be like adding an AMD. AMD has a $265 billion market cap. So just add AMD right on top of that. Or a company like Chevron, one of the biggest oil companies in the world, and their $287 billion market cap. It would be like NVIDIA just adding a Chevron. That is the ridiculousness of the size of the numbers around this company, adding that much value in a single day. Now, I just want to add, since this story came out about an hour and a half ago, NVIDIA has pulled back a little bit, currently up 11.4% instead of 15%. So it's only adding about $200 billion in market cap as of this moment, trading at $751. Oh, and it's still rising, 752. But not wasting a second of this FOMO news, Supermicro sees, NVIDIA posted a good quarter. Quick, dilute my shareholders. This one came out at 5:30 p.m. yesterday, just an hour after NVIDIA's report. Supermicro plans $1.5 billion convertible notes offering. Supermicro Computer, a company specializing in IT solutions for various sectors, announced plans to offer $1.5 billion in convertible senior notes due in 2029, with an additional option for purchasers to acquire up to $225 million more, depending on market conditions and other factors. The notes will be available to qualified institutional buyers of the Securities Act of 1933. The convertible notes maturing March 1st, 2029 will be senior unsecured obligations of the company, accruing interest payable semi-annually. They will be convertible into cash, shares of Supermicro's common stock, or a combination thereof at the company's discretion under certain conditions and during specific periods before September 1st, 2028, and at any time up until the maturity date thereafter. In other words, Supermicro is diluting their shareholders, but Supermicro stock is up 11.63% this morning because people who buy Supermicro stock don't know what that means. And, well, because number go up. And NVIDIA, congratulations if you're FOMOing into Supermicro this morning. You're an idiot, and you're providing exit liquidity to the people selling this story to you. Meanwhile, let's shift gears a little bit from AI Mania to this one. This is a pretty big story. It's not getting a lot of coverage. Maybe it doesn't need it, but cellular outages hit thousands in U.S. AT&T users most affected. This one was posted at 7:49 a.m. this morning. A cellular outage early on Thursday hit thousands of AT&T users in the United States, disrupting calls and text messages as well as emergency services in major cities, including San Francisco. More than 50,000 incidents were reported at 7 a.m. Eastern time. That's according to data from outage tracking website Down Detector. And guys, I just want to add 50,000 incidents. That's 50,000 reported incidents. Everybody doesn't go on Down Detector and report it when there is an incident. There were just 50,000 reports on Down Detector. That means there's a lot of people were having issues last night. And also, these started around 3:30 a.m. Eastern time when most people are sleeping. So you had that many reports when most people weren't even using their phones. This is a big outage here. Users of Verizon, T-Mobile, and U.S. Cellular also reported disruptions, though outages with the services was much smaller than with AT&T, according to Down Detector. The outage was impacting people's ability to reach emergency services by dialing 911, a post on social media platform X from the San Francisco Fire Department said. Now, this is a look at downdetector.com, which tracks these outages. And you can see all these charts here. They were flat until all at the same morning. I'm not sure how well you guys can see this. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. But you can see right at the same time, all of these cell carriers all start reporting a spike in outage. Pretty much all of them. The one exception, FirstNet, by the way, built by AT&T. That's the cell network that was made after 9/11 specifically for first responders so that when everybody's on their phone calling mom at the same time, it doesn't crowd the networks. And next thing you know, firefighters and police can't use their phones. So they created a network, a secured network just for first responders. Even that one got hit last night. But I would add that one is now back because the outages reported on FirstNet went right back down to near zero. But all the other private carriers are all reporting higher outages. Just give you an idea here. Here's the AT&T reports of outages. It started at 3:34 a.m. Eastern time. And right now, those reports are up to about 74,000, just under 74,000, 73,992 reports of AT&T outages in the last 24 hours. Now, the one thing I want to add here, guys, is people are waking up across the country right now, and this number is no longer rising. It's kind of just going flat here. So I suspect that means at the very least the problem isn't getting worse. because you'd think more people waking up and realizing their phones don't work, you'd have more reports coming in, but we don't. So at the very least, this is not a cause for like panic in the streets or anything, but every cell carrier in the country reporting thousands of down outages at the same time. That's a big deal, guys. This reeks of cyber attack. I'm not sure what happened here. As we get more information, I will bring it to you. But this is a big story. People have been talking about cyber attacks, false flags, this or that. They're going to take us to war. Whatever it is, all the cell phones stopped working at 3:34 a.m. Eastern time in a lot of cities, and people couldn't even dial 911. Now on over to electric vehicle maker Rivian, who is cutting their salaried workforce by 10%. This one is just last night in the Wall Street Journal. The startup signals flat 2024 production, falling short of Wall Street forecasts. Pay attention, all you Amazon owners, because they own a big chunk of Rivian stock. Rivian Automotive said it would lay off 10% of its salaried workforce and expects vehicle output to be flat this year, citing tough market conditions for its electric trucks. Vehicle output will be flat this year, despite hundreds of billions of dollars of subsidies for electric vehicles and their charging stations. People still aren't buying them. Stop subsidizing this garbage. People don't want it. How many times do we have to say it? The startup said on Wednesday it expects to produce roughly the same number of pickup trucks and sport utility vehicles this year as it did in 2023. That's about 57,000, and that's short of analysts' expectations of roughly 65,000 vehicles. Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe said challenging macroeconomic conditions, including higher interest rates that make monthly vehicle payments pricier, were behind the weaker manufacturing outlook. That almost sounds like a recession. Shares fell about 13% in aftermarket trading. Electric car makers have been dialing back their investment plans for electric vehicles, citing deceleration in the growth of sales and waning consumer interest. General Motors, Ford, and other car makers have delayed or scaled back plans for battery factories and other facilities, saying they remain committed to the EV push, that it will take longer than expected. Rivian stock down 21.25% as of right now, 9:24 a.m. Eastern time. This thing's getting crushed. This is one of those electric vehicle CHIPS Act, Inflation Reduction Act darlings. Amazon owns a huge chunk of this company. Well, they are in for a rough year. Check out the one-year chart on this one. We're pretty much back to where we were at the start of last year, actually a little bit lower. This thing ran like crazy over the summer, got as high as almost $27 a share, now trading back at $12.14. Actually, that is a new 52-week low for this one, I believe. 1168 is the 52-week low, so we're not quite there, but we're getting close. Another interesting one this morning I saw, this is in the energy space. Schneider Energy's annual LNG revenue falls on low natural gas prices. Thought this one was interesting. U.S. LNG company Schneider posted a 38.5% fall in its full-year LNG revenue on Thursday, hurt by a fall in natural gas prices. The average U.S. natural gas price fell nearly 40% in 2023, dragged by record production, ample inventories and storage, and relatively mild weather conditions, pressuring prices for LNG firms such as Schneider. The company said LNG volumes loaded for the year rose to 2.299 trillion BTUs. That's compared to 2.295 trillion BTUs last year. So Schneider posted they shipped the same amount of natural gas, but their volume came in, or their revenue came in 38.5% lighter. Now, I would add, guys, that this Schneider sells most of their gas on fixed contracts, which is basically Henry Hub price. That's the big natural gas standard, Henry Hub plus a fee. So when natural gas prices collapse, Schneider takes in less revenue, but their profits don't usually get much smaller because Schneider sells most of their gas under these pre-existing contracts that have a built-in margin regardless of what the price of natural gas does. They do sell a small amount of their gas on the spot market, so that spot market gas will probably be less profitable. But Schneider's a pretty well-hedged company against this. But that decline in revenue is affecting the stock this morning, down 1.25%. I personally don't have any position in this one. I have owned it in the past. I don't own it right now. I may take a hard look at this one because if I see this stock being dragged down by the revenue estimates, even though they're insulated against that in their earnings, might present a buying opportunity. Last one I want to talk about today. Deutsche Bank orders managers back to the office for 4 days a week. That's because, well, commercial real estate and work from home is crushing Deutsche Bank's investments in commercial real estate. And if they want the world to go back to the office, they better start with their own employees. Deutsche Bank is tightening the expansive work from home rules it introduced in the wake of the COVID pandemic, joining a growing number of investment banks that require staff to be in the office more frequently because work from home is killing investment banks. Managing directors have to be in the office 4 days a week, while all other staff are required to come in at least 3 days. According to a memo on Thursday seen by Bloomberg, the changes are effective as of June. The new policy may run counter to efforts by the lender to cut back on office space. For example, it said last year that it wants to reduce its real estate footprint across Frankfurt and a neighboring town by 40% by the end of this year. That's compared to 2021. It cited increased work from home as a reason why this would be feasible. They vowed to cut about $1.8 billion over the next 2 years. Now, the CEO here is saying the bank remains committed to our hybrid working model, which has been received extremely positively by staff. I'm sorry, that was a spokesman for the bank, not the CEO. Its new guidelines will ensure consistency across the bank and strengthen senior leadership presence in the office, which remains the primary place of work. And it might also help other companies to convince their staff to come back into the office, so those buildings that this bank is invested in stop going down in value. And, well, maybe their bank doesn't fail, because commercial real estate is crushing European banks right now. Both U.S. commercial real estate and China commercial real estate that we talked about yesterday have been putting pressure on European banks in recent days. And now they're like, remember everything we said about work from home? Yeah, ixnay on the work from home way, because it's crushing our company. And I just want to say thank you so much to Mr. Cole Marsh, who says coffee and a tinfoil. Wow, let's get a little tinfoil on today. Thank you very much, Mr. Cole Marsh. By the way, speaking of tinfoil hat, that cell phone outage, WTF, guys. Somebody, mainstream press, want to look into that? I know we had the article in Reuters. That's very helpful. But what the hell happened last night? Why were people unable to call 911 in some cities? That's kind of a big deal. Maybe you guys want to look into that. I just throw them out there. Thank you very much, Cole. I appreciate the coffee and the tinfoil and the support of the channel. And thank you to my buddy Travis at Real Estate Mindset. What's up, brother? He says, you should start a news work. You love confrontation. Don't you do that? I saw that video of you getting in that shouting match with that contractor. What was that, in North Carolina? Is this a public street, bro? It's a public street? It's a public street, bro. What's up, Travis? Good thing none of us are confrontational, Travis. Yeah, I'm a pacifist by nature, really. I'm not at all confrontational. Thanks for the support, brother. And everybody, check out Real Estate Mindset. He is one of the best in the real estate business. And thank you to my buddy Steve White. Says, is there any evidence that AI is drastically changing business, or is it all hype so far? There have been minor changes in AI. I can tell you, people, the most productive white-collar workers in the world are already using AI, whether they're reporting it or not. I guarantee they're using ChatGPT to help them type up emails or make presentations or even write code like some of the commercials are showing. I have used ChatGPT in the past to help me come up with titles, or like, hey, how do I get more keywords or search heavy words into my video description? So it is a productivity enhancing tool. I'm sure it is changing business. Is it changing business enough to justify these valuations? Definitely not. All right. We saw in these Super Bowl commercials the examples of artificial intelligence that the market is celebrating, right? Etsy with their gift mode. What do we get for the French? They just gave us the Statue of Liberty. Get them a wheel of cheese. Brilliant. We need artificial intelligence to tell us this racist gift idea. By the way, can you be racist against the French? Am I supposed to say that? No? Okay. Sorry. But anyway, gift mode on Etsy is not going to change the bottom line for Etsy. Funny AI minion images in that Super Bowl commercial is not going to change the bottom line for Despicable Me 15 or whatever number they're on. All right. And I've seen every freaking one of them 100 times because I have kids. On top of that, what was the other one? Avocados from Mexico. Send us pictures and our AI will give you a recipe. That's not going to cause more avocados to be grown, shipped, and sold. So I don't think AI is drastically changing business yet. I do think eventually it will, not in time to save most of these companies, which are run by people who make my skin crawl. Watch that interview of Charles Lang, the CEO of Supermicro, talking about, oh, remember that accounting fraud thing from the SEC? You know, that ancient history from 2020 when we were committing accounting fraud to overinflate our quarterly revenue numbers? Oh, we are much better than that. Oh, we're so much better than that now. Much improvement has been made. A number one Supermicro computer. Watch that interview on Bloomberg. It will make your skin crawl. These guys are worse than used car salesmen. And I don't mean any offense to used car salesmen, because you guys are much better than these Supermicro executives who commit accounting fraud on a massive scale. Thank you, Steve Woitis. Appreciate the super chat. Support of the channel. And thank you, no one who says, Jim Cramer said, if you bet against NVIDIA, please don't forget to send me an invitation to your funeral. Well, I can tell you, I do not bet against NVIDIA, but Jim Cramer, well, let's just let Jim Cramer's record speak for itself. By the way, Jim, I loved those interviews you did with Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos. I loved how you promoted a billionaire con artist, almost as much as I loved how when you called Sam Bankman-Fried the new JP Morgan. And now Jim Cramer is all about NVIDIA and AI, and I'm sure there is no correlation whatsoever between any of those stories. I'm sure this isn't going to blow up in our face, and in hindsight, we're going to go back and watch these videos of Jim Cramer saying these things, and everybody's going to say, of course it was a bubble. What the hell were we thinking? But for now, Jim Cramer can say things like, send me an invitation to your funeral. All right, NVIDIA bros, good luck. Jim Cramer's your poster child. Congratulations. Good luck with that. Ride that rocket, baby. Let's build on that success, shall we? And Neil's Han Dynasty says, buy silver, platinum, osmium. All right. I've spent a lot of time on the periodic table, Neil. I don't know what osmium is. All right. I'm an engineer, nuclear guy, like osmium. I get the silver and platinum thing, Neil. You've always been a fan. Osmium is new. All right. Put it down on homework. Jack's got to look up osmium. That's a new one, Neil. But thank you, sir, very much for the super chat and the support of the channel. I appreciate that very much. And thank you, everybody, for having your coffee with the melon heads this morning. So let's see, will NVIDIA have the greatest day in stock market history, or is the big money going to fade this rally and use y'all as exit liquidity? Time will tell. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much to my Patreon supporters and magnanimous melonheads for everything you guys do for the channel. Got links to all that good stuff. And thank you to my channel members as well for supporting the channel. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. Till next time, live small and dream big.